Welcome Bronco Nation to my 3 keys to the game video for Boise State versus BYU. Number 21 Boise State versus number 9 BYU. It's going to be 7:45 p.m. Friday on FS1. Wow, what a weird year 2020 has turned out to be. If you told me at the beginning of the year that BYU would be ranked number 9 and the highest ranked team to ever come into Boise State and Boise State history, I would have laughed in your face. I would have said there's no way that a Kalani Sitake team is ever going to get into the top 10, and here they are. So this is an incredible matchup. This is statistically the biggest home game for Boise State ever. I think, when we're looking at Boise State home games, there's been some big ones, and I personally would think that Oregon coming in is bigger than BYU. But statistically, this is the biggest Boise State home game ever on a Friday night, 7:45. Not on ESPN like we usually would be, but on FS1. So it's a big game. We're going to go over 3 keys to the game here. We're going to conclude with a summary, a score prediction, and just kind of a look at the game overall. All right, so for this first key here is going to be secondary needs to step up. Versus BYU, one of the things that's hurt Boise State the most has been the secondary. The BYU has always managed to have those really, really big wide receivers. This year, the top 4 wide receivers are 6 foot, 6'3", 6'4", and 6'6". That last one, 6'6", is a tight end. Last year, Boise State gave up 2 crucial long touchdowns, one of 27 and one of 39, that were really difference makers in the game. Of course, that game came down to the wire with a late flurry of 15 points in the fourth quarter that drew it up within a score. Ended up not being able to punch it in there at the end, or be able to get that ball back to be able to punch it in there in the end. But the receiving game was key in that. Passed for over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Romney did. It was an incredible game. Of course, the Zach Wilson was not playing in that one. He is in this one. So Zach Wilson has never beaten Boise State. He's going to be coming out with a fire. He's been really, really good this year. We'll address him later on. He really wants to beat Boise State. It's the biggest game on BYU's schedule. The secondary is going to need to be ready to get tested. Of course, Boise State's 2 main corners are sitting at 6 foot and 5'9", and our best corner, which is Avery Williams, is only 5'9". Going up against those bigger threats, it's going to require a lot of eye discipline, a lot of good placement, and really maybe a little bit of luck to really stop this passing game. So the secondary is going to be key. Second, forced turnovers. Throughout this year, Boise's in 2 games this year, Boise State has only forced 1 turnover. They did have an interception last game versus Air Force, but it was called back due to pass interference. Questionable, but it was probably there. Anyhow, called back due to pass interference. Boise State has struggled recently to dominate in the defensively as far as causing turnovers like they used to. Last year, through 10 games, Boise State only had 5 interceptions. Of course, a late flurry in the final 4 games would have Boise State end the year with 10 interceptions. But through 10 games of the season, all the way up to the Utah State game, Boise State only had 5 interceptions. And Boise State is already on track for that kind of same performance this year. BYU, it's going to be difficult to stop them, no matter how Boise State's defense is playing. Again, it's a defense that has performed well, but it's a defense that has a lot of new faces adjusting to new roles and positions. So this is going to be a matchup where I think it's going to be difficult for the defense to consistently stop BYU. So being able to force a few turnovers in the red zone, on drives, give the ball back to the offense, not have to have the defense out there in those long drives, I think is going to be really, really key in this one. Third and final one is that Jonah Dalmas needs to prove his mettle. Through 2 games so far, he is 13 of 13 on PATs with no field goals attempted. Boise State has not attempted a field goal this year, which is great because it means that all of our drives have either been the ones that have been long and successful, have been ending in touchdowns. Our red zone percentage is incredible. I think it's 100%. I don't remember if there was any turnovers. I think it's 100% right now, but don't quote me on that one. Either way, no field goals attempted. However, that is going to change. When you come in as the underdog, which Boise State is, BYU is favored 52.9%. They are 3-point favorites, so not heavy underdogs. But whenever you're an underdog, the special teams becomes key. And Boise State this is going to be a tougher defense than they've faced previously. Air Force was a pretty tough defense, but they also have they're dealing with some issues there, and they're not as deep as they are because of COVID stuff. But BYU is a pretty good defense. They've held all their opponents to under 100 yards rushing. And it's going to be hard to be able to maintain that consistency that Boise State has had so far. So they're probably going to see a few drives sputter out short of the end zone, and Jonah Damas is going to need to be able to come out and make those big kicks in crunch time. Of course, not in front of a live audience per se in the stands, unless we can get it approved where they're trying to push for 1,100 fans to be able to come. But still, it's not the same kind of pressure, but the mental pressure is still going to be there. Big game, big moment. Jonah Domas needs to step up and show why he's the starting kicker. All right, so the 3 keys, in summarizing here, secondary needs to step up, force turnovers, and Jonah Damas needs to prove his mettle. Basically, special teams kicking game. All 3 of those are going to be really important in this matchup. So, summary. BYU is a top 10 team because the AP poll says they're a top 10 team, but I personally do not think that they are a top 10 team. They have one of the weakest of all of the top 10 teams. They have the weakest schedule. Cincinnati's right up there with them, but they have one of the weakest schedules. Their opponents are 20-27 this year. No Power 5 wins, no ranked team wins. They did have a game against Army, but it got canceled. And they had a near loss to UTSA. That game came down to 20-27. The biggest factor overall is that Kalani Sitake, to me, is not a top 10 team head coach. BYU is basically the same team that they've always been under him. They just lucked out with COVID where they didn't have to play any Power 5 teams. So while BYU, I think, is a good team, they're 6-0. I think that they deserve to be in the top 25, maybe 17th, somewhere around there. I don't think that they're a top 10 team. Now, they are the highest ranked team to come into Boise, but I don't think that performance-wise they are a number 9 team. So that is something to consider when looking at BYU as an opponent here. Boise State is going to really be their only quality opponent. I mean, they also play San Diego State, but this is really going to be their only quality opponent of the season. Now, having said that, they are playing extremely well, even if it is against lesser opponents right now. Their quarterback, Zach Wilson, is one of the best in the country. He's number 4 overall in passing yards. And their running back, I'm going to try to take an attempt at this name, Tyler Aguirre, I think is how you say it. Anyhow, he's averaging 6.5 yards per carry. They are a good offense, and their defense has been spectacular, holding their opponents under 14 points as average per the game. And they're going to be going up against a defense that, they do get Jail Skinner back, but they also lose Dimitri Washington, though his backup Irwin looked incredible. I think he was one of the keys to stopping Air Force's option in the second half there. So I think Irwin has looked good, but again, this is a Boise State team that's without their star, Curtis Weaver. It's a team that doesn't have that, besides Avery Williams, it doesn't really have that one established player that's going to suck in the attention of the offense. They're just going to have to play really, really good team defense, which they've had an ability to do so far, but they're going to need to really step up against what is a good offense. Now, the big question, I don't have the answer for it. I looked online. I looked through all the news sources and all my leads there. Nothing so far on Bachmeier or Holani. Nothing. Now, usually if it's a season-ending type of thing, Boise State will come out. Otherwise, they tend to be very close-lipped. Just with everything going on, the fact that 2 starting players were said to have not 2 starting players, but 2 players were said to have contracted COVID, and then 2 starters missed the game, kind of made you think that it probably was COVID. That might hit Bachmeier, keep him from playing. Holani, of course, he had that knee injury, wasn't taken back, wasn't taken back outside. He didn't have his uniform taken off. So we'll see if he comes back for this game. Regardless, though, whether it's Bachmeier or Jack Sears out there, who had just one of the top starting games for a Boise State quarterback ever. Incredible matchup. I think that Boise State has an equal chance of winning this game, whether it's Bachmeier or Jack Sears out there. Jack Sears gives Boise State more of a professional quarterback kind of run and gun. He's a big quarterback. He's more of a pro style. That's what I was going for. More of a pro style quarterback, whereas Bachmeier has that traditional characteristic Boise State quarterback style where he's able to go out, he's able to maneuver and make big plays where you don't expect them coming. So he has more of that surprise factor. I think either way, the offense is in good hands. I think the bigger loss per se, or the bigger impactor, is whether if Helani is going to be able to play or not. Because while Van Buren is a quality back, I've said this before, he reminds me over at Jack Fields, where he has the ability to get the yards, but he needs help, and he really needs good offensive line play, which we've had so far, but that's going to have to continue, and he doesn't have the next level speed and maneuverability that Helani does. I mean, Helani just brings a second element to this offense that is incredibly hard to contain. So this is going to be my score prediction, right? I think Boise State's going to win this game. I think Boise State's going to put up 41 points, BYU 34. That's the score prediction. Boise State 41, BYU 34. Now, I think whether Helani is in there or not, Boise State's still going to win. But this score prediction I gave, the odds of it coming true, I think go up significantly if Helani's in there. If Helani's not in there, I think that Jack Fields or Bachmeier, whoever is the starting quarterback for this game, they take the brunt of the offensive load in this one, and I think the offense becomes a little bit more one-dimensional, especially against the more fierce defense that BYU brings. If Van Buren is the running back in this one, while a great kid with great energy and effort, I think that it's going to be a lot tougher for Boise State to win this, but I still think that they can. And just to address the concept of the quarterback controversy, I think if Bachmeier's healthy, he gets the start in this one. He's been incredible in his games with Boise State, besides the one loss of Washington, which I don't really put on him because he wasn't really fully healthy for that. He's undefeated in the regular season. He played incredible against Utah State. I think that we can do really great things with Jack Sears and Bachmeier working it out together in the backfield, rotating them in different spots. Maybe Jack Sears comes in as more of a red zone threat. I think that they can do great things together. But if Bachmeier is not good to go, I think Jack Sears 100% is able to win with this team at the same level that Bachmeier is. It's really a toss-up. So Zach Wilson might be one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but Boise State's got two of the best quarterbacks in the country here, and they're in good hands with either one. So that wraps up my video. I know we're all going to be looking forward to this game. If you want to root on the game with other Boise State fans, make sure that you join the Bronco Nation Updates page. We always have a game feed going on there. A lot of interactivity. We have over 8,000 fans. So make sure you join that. And of course, if you like these videos, make sure you like and subscribe. I post content weekly, both previews and reviews of the game. All right, go Big Blue!